Hello, beloved friends. I am here today to talk about standing on principle. What does that mean? What does it look like, feel like, for us to really live according to a higher truth and the principles that run our lives? You know, many of us are in the place of awakening in this world. We're opening to our true spiritual essence and beginning to learn to live according to that in a world that doesn't necessarily support us operating according to principle. We have patterned ways of being in our own selves and with others, in our relationships, in our experience of the world. And the world itself is in this conflicted state between a place of change and transformation, because those that are claiming a higher truth are often knocked down, or in the past have been. So what we're really up to today in this time is, as we're awakening and living according to these higher principles, higher truth principles that say, I have an option here to be absolute about truth. I'm not necessarily saying be absolute about a false truth, but about a higher realization in the moment of every experience. What is it to really get to a higher experience of I'm living according to principle and not according to the world's judgment and not according to the ways that others would perceive life has effects on us? When we are living on principle and living on truth, we open to the place in us where we acknowledge and live and follow the voice of spirit. The truth and freedom that resides within us will guide us through every circumstance. But we have to be willing to have the courage to stand in the power of that, which comes through our solar plexus. It comes through our energy system. Yes, it unites heart, and it unites this infinite upper realm, and it unites this lower experience of being embodied here on earth. But in our solar plexus, in the center of our being, is our place where we connect and unify with the spiritual power of our true voice, the spiritual power of that infinite source that is informing and guiding us and moving us forward in ways that are in alignment with a higher perception. It is very easy to buy into stories, the stories that are in our own minds, the stories of our own lives and how our lives have been or haven't been, of what has informed us in the past. But as we're learning to stand in a new place with power and spiritual presence, we are being invited to become absolutists about truth. I will not give away a false power to outer circumstances. I choose, because I'm the chooser. I'm the focusing energy of the divine. There is only this flowing energetic movement of consciousness. But my role as an embodied being here on this planet is to become a focusing lens for that energy, to give its creative power in specific streams of consciousness. Now, if I'm buying into the streams of consciousness of what has been, of what the world conversation is, of at a lower level vibration and frequency, then I'm not aligned to the truth of my own being, to the consciousness of the one divine spirit that is alive in me and has a powerful voice that knows when to say no and knows when to say yes and is clear about those. There's no gray area in no and yes. There is not gray area. We live our lives being influenced by the gray areas around us, the gray areas in our own being, the gray areas of others, of the influences of life and our perceptions and our desires and our challenges, because we want to prove ourselves as worthy, and we have already been given the power and the presence. We are enough. We are the whole enchilada of the God consciousness, right here and now in form. But as we deny that, then we can only show up partially. So then we open up energy leaks or energy membranes that allow the influences Now, I'm not saying that we don't choose to be gently influenced by those that are holding truth and to perceive all the different perceptions. It is important that we are omnidimensional beings. We are operating on many, many realms. At this time in our consciousness, many gifts are coming through as our timelines are emerging, and we're claiming the truth of our being throughout all of consciousness and our ability to create here and now exactly from this true essence. But it means I must be true to the essence within myself. So when I stand on principle, I am clear and I listen. I receive all the information, all the awarenesses around me, all the perceptions and misperceptions. And I look at my own misperceptions and the perceptions that I'm holding, and where did those come from? What's the core of where that perception arose within me? Because if I'm not willing to look and become self-aware, I can't know and discern when I'm in alignment with my true power essence, with the true spiritual essence. And when I say power essence, it can be fierce, but it doesn't have to be. It can be gentle. It can be just the flowing energy of light and love, and that love transforms all things, that gentleness can move through into the places and soothe the ruffles and the ripples and calm that. So the power that I'm speaking of, the spiritual power and the true essence and standing on principle, if we say it, as we say it, is really about coming to that place where I am clear. I have clarity within my being. I'm not doubting myself. I'm not doubting the essence of truth. I'm not doubting the knowing that's given to me. Now, if I, in fact, am operating from ego, that'll slam me in the face. Because if I'm not looking at it and aware that, oh, I got ego tied up into this, and there's an ego construct of self that is wanting to protect itself and defend itself, then I will take a stance for something that is based upon what I, at a lower level I, the self, is wanting, and an agenda that I have established. If I'm willing to let go of the agenda, open to the truth of being, then there is a firm and gentle awareness. And that awareness embraces all. That awareness has a power without force. It has a power without needing to defend itself. It has a presence that permeates not only all of our being and the mental constructs and the emotional turmoils, the emotional belief systems. All of that drops away in the face of the true essence, aligning itself with the one source, the consciousness of all, that where everyone is included in that consciousness. And we also have the ability to establish healthy boundaries and discern what we are going to act upon based upon our inner being. So we get to hear and discern that voice of true essence and stay in alignment with it. One of the challenges of our world is we've not accepted, first of all, our own divinity. Secondly, is then we allow the outer world to influence and we get caught up in the ego constructs. Instead of allowing ourselves to stay true, stay calm, stay in the presence of the divine, because I am not the doer. It is the divine essence. Though I allow that essence and I follow its guidance to focus that energy with a powerful way of saying yes or saying no. And I invite you to consider the places in your life where you're allowing the gray, the influence of everything around you, the people, the past history, the ideas that you've bought into and created beliefs around, and to examine those, to self-examine so that you can actually start to align with an absolute truth. Years ago, I was given the guidance that my role was to stay pure and stay true to that essence within me. I don't know exactly what that means or how to live that fully, but I knew that even in spiritual matters, even in mental, intellectual in scientific understanding. All of those are information. Their knowledge, their information, first their information. And then to see and hear all of those, so we're not uninformed, but then go back to that place where the purity of light, the purity of the Christ I am, if you want to call it that, the divine awareness, the flowing consciousness, is absolutely burning away anything but a higher truth, a true essence. And there is a purity in discerning where is that a flickering instead of an absolute clear stream. And I just invite you to notice where you've cut off the flow, or where you've allowed someone else's flow to come and interrupt your essence and your truth, and begin to align to this higher presence, this that is operating. What does your gut tell you? You know, there's a reason we talk about gut instinct, because there's a place in us that resides both that outer power, but also that inner power. And when we drop away the facade of needing to be something, anything, then this presence of the universe flows in purity. The distortions are the filters that we've put upon life and how we've perceived it with belief systems. But if those drop away, we can allow the pure light of God, the pure light of truth, the pure light that is the consciousness of all, to shine into and through every circumstance, every situation, to inform our lives, to inform our thoughts, so that we create according to that higher creative principle. What is the highest thought, the most powerful creation that you can have in this moment? If you're stagnant, if you're being tossed and torn, you're not in the purity of that highest creative thought, for it is always bringing forth higher good, greater benevolence, the essence that is always going to uplift each and everyone. No one is left out. No one is excluded. No one is less than or more than. All are part of this creative flow. And it has a beauty and a magnificence. You watch how it creates the world, how it creates beauty. We get caught up into descriptors and definitions and defining ourselves according to our old identities and beliefs. When all that separation falls away, there's only the pure light of consciousness. And my vision for each one of us, that we stand in the truth, we stand on the principle of light, of love, which is its way of expressing its essence in our world. And not a love that has conditions, but a love that is unconditional, that is all-inclusive. So let that love shine in you this day. Let it be that which calls forth the greatest power and presence that has ever been, that will ever be, to guide your life in ways that bring you harmony, peace, fulfillment in your life and in your world. We are no longer wavering.